Hey, this is Justin with Real Estate Investing STL, and I am here to show you how you can purchase properties with either little or no money down. So how does this work? It's also known as the BRRRR method, and that stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So essentially what you're doing is you are purchasing and rehabbing the property with a hard money loan. So the hard money lender will actually cover up to 100% of your purchase and your rehab cost as long as it stays within a certain percentage of ARV, which we'll go over here in a little bit. That is completely different than if you just bought it with a traditional lender from the beginning. They are not going to cover 100% of your purchase and rehab. They're going to want a down payment. So after you purchase and rehab it, then you are going to, of course, rent it out, and then you're going to refinance into long-term fixed financing. So the hard money loan is great because you can get into the properties for very little money out of pocket. However, they are pretty high interest, so you are going to want to refinance into long-term financing. And then, of course, after you've done that, you are going to repeat that process. So the 20% down myth. So that's what I was saying with how most traditional lenders or banks are going to say that you need a 20% down payment for non-owner occupied or rental properties. Just for an example, if you're buying a $100,000 home, that would actually require you to come up with a $20,000 down payment out of pocket. Not only that, but if there are rehab costs, you are most likely going to have to cover those out of pocket as well. So it could be substantially higher than that. So if you're looking to purchase 5 or 10 or 20 rentals, that 20% down can add up very, very quickly. So what are we able to do to get around that issue? So essentially, instead of using the traditional lender from the very start, we are going to use the hard money loan, and then it turns into just a refinance. So we're refinancing an existing loan as opposed to using them from the start, so that allows us to avoid that 20% down payment. It's not a cash out refi, so essentially your long-term lender is just going to pay off the short-term lender, the hard money lender, that you had once you refinance. So the long-term lender will go up to 80% of the appraised value. So that's the big key here. Whenever we're looking for properties, is we want to find ones that we can purchase and rehab for less than 80% of the ARV. The ARV is known as the after repair value. So what's going to happen is when you have a property that you're looking to purchase, the hard money lender is going to they're going to order an appraisal, and it's going to be an after repair appraisal. So essentially, they're going to look at the comparable sales that are in that neighborhood. They're going to see what they've sold for fixed up, and then they're going to give you a valuation based on that. So if all the properties that have already been rehabbed are selling for $100,000 in your neighborhood, you're going to want to be all in for less than $80,000 because that's 80% of 100. And when I say all in, that means purchase and rehab. So if it needs $20,000 in rehab, you're going to want to purchase for no more than $60,000. That's the max you can do to make this strategy work. So you'll buy for 60, put 20 into it. You're in it for 80, and it already appraised for 100. So that would work for using this no money down strategy. So unfortunately, this program is not for everyone. You do have to meet some criteria from the lender. They're looking for a credit score of at least 650, at least 15,000 in liquid assets. Typically, that's going to be bank account that you've got more than 50,000 in your bank account. But it could be, a HELOC. It could be, various things that you have. But they want to see 15 in liquid assets. Then they're going to look at tax returns and 3 months of bank statements. So you do have to be at least somewhat qualified to do this program. But that's just kind of a little outlay of what they're going to require on their end. So let's get down to an actual property that we sold that works for this program. So it was a 4-family in South City, St. Louis. It was bought for $68,000. The rehab was $30,000, and it had appraised for $130,000. So if you take that sales price of 68 and you add it to the rehab cost of 30, you're left with 98. So your all-in cost there is 98,000. So you take that 98,000, you divide it by the appraised value, which was 130,000, and that gives you your percentage of ARV at 75. And as you know, we're wanting to be under 80%, so 75 works very well. We're also looking at getting $2,200 a month in rent, since it is a 4-family. There's 4, of course, units that are going to be occupied, but you're looking at $2,200 in rent. So then you've got your projections after that. So if you take that $2,200 multiplied by 12, you get your yearly gross rent. So it's $26,400. But then you're going to need to subtract all of your expenses to end up with your net operating income. So you take that $26,400 number and you subtract the management fees, the maintenance and vacancies, the taxes, the insurance, and the estimated mortgage payment that you're going to have on the property. And even after taking into account all of that, you're still looking at cash flowing $12,416 per year. So what does this look like long term? So let's say in 20 years. So in that previous example, we had a property that we sold, and the yearly net operating income was $12,416. So over the course of 20 years, that property is projected to bring in almost $250,000 in cash flow alone. Now that's not the only thing that we are gaining with this as well. So after 20 years, the property has been paid off, so it's owned 100% free and clear. So if you remember, it was $130,000 for the appraised amount. Now, if we look at only 3% appreciation over the next 20 years, which 3 is very conservative, but if we use 3%, the property is now worth $235,000. And this is a property that you own free and clear at this point. So if you went and you sold that property after 20 years, you would pocket the entirety of the cash flow, which was almost $250,000. You would also then get the $235,000 from the sale of the property. So you combine those two, and you're looking at about $480,000 in profit from one property. If you remember, we did this with very little money out of pocket. It hardly costs anything. Plus, it also is a very passive strategy as well. You've got property management in place. We've already taken that into account in the rental projections. You also have the contractors that are doing the work. So you've done very, very little work yourself. You've put very little money out there, and yet you're still making $480,000 in a 20-year period, and that's for one property. So what do we provide here? We supply properties that are going to fit this model. Now, there's many, many areas in the country where this particular BRRRR strategy is not going to work very well, and that's simply because it is very hard to find properties that you're going to be all in for 75% that are still going to cash flow really well. We're able to do that here in the St. Louis market. It's one of the best markets for that. Whereas if you're in California, I've heard of investors that are doing fix and flips, and they're going all the way up to 90% of ARV, just because the competition is so heavy, and that's just what the going rates are. And now, not only are you at 90%, but the cash flow is not even going to be remotely close. So here in St. Louis, the advantage that we have is that we're able to get into them for that great percentage of ARV. You're looking at 25% equity right off the bat. And they're also going to cash flow very well also. You've got lower purchase prices and higher rents than you're going to find in a lot of areas of the country. So that's what we do, is we supply properties that are going to fit this model well. And then we can also give referrals for all of the team members that you're going to need to be successful. So you're going to need, the short-term lenders, the long-term lenders, contractors, and the property management companies. And we have great sources for all of those. So we are more than happy to provide those, just kind of free of cost. We hope, we just want you to essentially be successful. So next steps here is let's chat. Let's get on a phone call. So you can call or text me directly. That is actually my cell phone number at 573-268-4868. So please reach out to me. If you call me and I'm unable to answer, just leave me a voice message and I'll call you back. Another thing we want to do is get you pre-approved, so that way you're kind of bumped up to the top of the list. When we get properties that fit this, we're going to first go to people that we've worked with before, and then secondly, we're going to go with people that have been pre-approved. So it's pretty easy to do. You'll just go on to that website right there and go ahead and give all the information that they're asking for. So just a brief summary again, you can create up to $480,000 in profit for each and every property you buy. You can also do this with very little or potentially no money out of pocket. You also are able to do this by investing passively. It's not something that you're going to need to spend 40 hours a week doing. And then finally, we provide everything you need, from the properties that fit this model to the lenders, to the contractors, property management companies. We've got all of that for you. So it's we try to make it kind of a one-stop shop. So once again, if you are interested in this program and you're able to meet the criteria for the lenders, then I would love to jump on a call with you. So my contact info, once again, is right there. And I look forward to speaking to you.